What's doing, everybody? Welcome to the channel. Thank you for tuning in. For those of you that have never been here before, I was incarcerated for 17 years in the New York prison system. We discuss the prison system a lot on this channel, and we follow some criminal cases. So hit the subscribe button, check out some of my videos. And today we're going to do a little follow-up on Luigi Mangione, the one who killed the CEO of United Healthcare, Brian Thompson, inside of New York City when he shot him in the back. Just a quick follow up on what's going on with that case. The biggest news in that case right now, Luigi's still being held in the federal center in Brooklyn, New York. He has been charged with New York State crime of murder, and he has been charged federally with murder. We're going to get back to that, and we're going to discuss why he's charged in both states and the fact that that is double jeopardy. But the biggest news is that the charge of terrorism has been dropped against Luigi Mangione. I said that this would happen in one of the first videos when they did charge him with terrorism. That was just completely out of line, out of line. Whether he's guilty or not, it's not terrorism. Terrorism is when you endanger a community. Terrorism is when you endanger a group of people. Terrorism is when you target someone because of a group of people because of their religion, or you set off a bomb. And this wasn't terrorism at all. He targeted an individual and he killed an individual. So saying that it was terrorism was absolutely ridiculous. It was nothing but hype. I knew it wouldn't stick. It didn't stick. The judge looked at it and said, we have to throw this out. So the terrorism is out the window. Is that going to help him? It could help him in a possibly death penalty case that he's facing. But besides that, it's not going to help him much because he's not going to beat this case. I mean, I would bet my life that he doesn't beat this case. And the reason he's not going to beat this case is because they have a manifesto that he wrote. They have him on video. He has pled not guilty to the charge. He will be convicted. I don't care how much evidence his lawyers get thrown out, how much, he will be convicted, no matter what on this case. And he will receive one of two sentences. He will receive life without parole, or he will receive 25 years to life and they will probably never let him out. Unless he does 40 years in prison, and 40 years from now, he becomes eligible for parole. I mean, whatever, he's not getting out. He'll be found guilty. But let me explain what they did to him. They charged him in the federal system, right? And they charged him in the state system as well, all right? And they charged him in both the federal and the state system with murder. This should be double jeopardy because they're doing this because of who he killed, right? Which is not fair. He killed a human being. That human being is just like any other human being on this planet, right? But the court system doesn't see it that way, and that's a travesty. Because when you kill someone, it shouldn't matter who they are. A person is a person is a person, and you don't charge someone, overcharge them, and charge them in the state and federal system just because the guy was a CEO. Because then you should, if the guy was a homeless bum on the street, if he killed a homeless bum on the street, then he should be charged with state and federal crime as well. The point I'm making is the homeless person is just as important as the CEO, right? But the system doesn't see it that way. So they charged him in the feds. And the reason that they were able to charge him in the feds is they said because he used a highway to drive from Georgia to New York to commit the crime. So you're saying you're charging people federally because they drove on a highway to come commit the crime. Do you know how many murderers drove on a highway to commit their crime and they weren't charged federally? Then the other reason they said that they're charging him federally is because he used a gun in the commission of the crime. So they're allowed to charge him federally. Do you know how many guys on the street use a gun to commit murder, but they don't get charged federally? That the state picks them up, right? And so this is why I say that it's a count of double jeopardy, right? In other words, they're just trying to make sure they get him no matter what. But they should they don't play fair. The legal system doesn't play fair. It's like when I was charged, right? Unfortunately, I was charged with murder, okay? And so I was charged with murder in the second degree when you look at my paperwork. But underneath that, I was also charged with something called murder impraved indifference. Okay? And murder impraved indifference, whatever that is, right, carries the same amount of time that murder carries, right? 25 to life. So, in other words, if I had gone to trial and the jury didn't feel I was guilty of murder, they have this other charge sitting there that they can get me on and explain to the jury, well, if you don't feel he was guilty of murder, he was definitely guilty of impraved indifference, which means he endangered the person. And right, so they're going to get you no matter what. This is not fair. This is part of the corruption of the system. And this is what people, especially that don't have money for a private attorney, face every day because they don't have an attorney to face that injustice, to face that overreaching of charging. And that's what they're doing to Luigi, right? Is they're charging him with all different types of charges in the state and the federal system. The only thing that Luigi Mangione should be charged with is murder in the second degree and possession of a firearm. That's it. They charged him with stalking. They charged him with murder. They charged him with weapon possession. They charged him with interstate stalking. They charged him with a bunch of federal crimes as well, right? Which will make him eligible for the death penalty. Now the state and the federal system are fighting who's going to get him first, right? Who's going to charge him, where he's going to go to trial first. His next appearance in court in the state system is in December. And his next appearance in the federal system is in January. So he has to appear in state court right there in New York City in December. And they're going to try and start trial proceedings, not the trial. They'll try and start trial proceedings, but a lot of motions are going to come into play. There's still a lot more going on, but they're going to try and really start moving in December. What else? As I said, he has no chance of winning. They have a lot of evidence on him, and it shouldn't be a federal case, man. It shouldn't be a federal case. Uh, and that's what's going on with him right now. He doesn't, as I'll say again, he doesn't have a chance at winning. Doesn't have a chance at winning. And the big thing is, he obviously had a lot of animosity towards the healthcare system. He had a lot of anger towards the healthcare system. But what I want you to recognize is that he didn't change a thing. By killing Brian Thompson, he did not change a thing. All he changed the man's family life. He crushed his family, who has nothing to do with the healthcare system. And by eliminating this man and taking him out of the picture, within 5 minutes, they appoint a new one to continue the status quo. So you're not making any difference at all. God forbid someone took out a president, any president, and I never want something like that to happen. God forbid someone did that. What I want you to understand is that a new president will step in within 5 minutes. So what did you change? You didn't change anything. So you got rid of the individual that you hate so much. That's not even feasible. It's not reasonable because the system's not going to change. The system's not going to change. Pardon me. So now all Luigi Mangoni is he has a lack of health care inside of the prison system that's worse than the lack of health care they were experiencing in the free world. He wants to see terrible health care go into the prison system. Now he's going to be in there for the rest of his life. I understand he was frustrated. I understand that. His mother was, this was over his mother. His mother was desperate for medical care, and she wasn't getting the proper treatment, and things weren't getting approved that he felt should have been approved. And he took it out on the system. There's a lot of people that are frustrated with the system. And there's a lot of people that do die because of the healthcare system. But the truth is, you have to fight the system through a pen and paper. You got to fight the system through an attorney. You got to fight the system in legitimate and legal ways. You can't use violence because, in the end, nobody won. That's what I want you to understand. Nobody won. He's in prison for the rest of his life. His mother is still suffering. The healthcare system is never going to change. The only way to get the healthcare system to change is to fight through laws, through changing the laws. So, unfortunate situation all around. And that's what's going on with Luigi Mangione. He's charged in the state, he's charged in the feds. The feds want the death penalty. The state wants to take the case first. He's doing court in December in the state. And then in the federal system, he's doing January. He's being held in Brooklyn right now. And there's not much else news other than that the terrorism charges were dropped. That is what's going on with the situation. I'll post another video soon, guys. You take care.